Coming up, President Trump continues his calls for a southern border shutdown if Mexico doesn't act in stemming the flow of migrant crossings. We'll have the latest. And former Vice President and potential presidential candidate Joe Biden responded to allegations of inappropriate conduct this weekend. We'll tell you what he had to say. And a group of Eastern Kentucky students banded together to make their dream of a homeless shelter come to life.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning, I'm Connor James. The time is now about 5:32 on this Monday morning. Let's check in with Brandon Robinson for a look at your almost feels like winter forecast.
Yeah, it is a mini winter anyway, a redbud winter, I do believe, if the calendar's lined up right. I know a lot of the trees not in full bloom yet. That's usually the criteria for that, but the timing at least matches up. Let's take a look at McKee this morning and this cold start to April here, and we're looking again at a quiet start downtown there. Freeze warning continues until 10 o'clock this morning for most of the region, so the frost is around for sure. Temperatures in the 20s, pretty much area wide at this point. Jacksboro hanging on to that 30, but I think it'll go away before too long. Almanac for today, 49 only our daytime high. We averaged 64 this time of the year, 86 our record set back this day in 2010. But as we plan it out for you the next 12 hours, again, should be fairly nice condition-wise. It's just those temperatures are going to struggle, but they'll go back up as we head deeper in the week. I'll talk more about that in the forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Brandon. Well, President Trump is not backing away from his threat to shut down the U.S.-Mexico border this week. The administration says the situation is at a melting point, with about 100,000 people expected to be apprehended this month. CBS's Laura Podesta has the latest.
President Trump did not talk to reporters last night as he returned to the White House from a weekend in Mar-a-Lago. He did say this, though, Friday.
Mexico is going to have to do something, otherwise I'm closing the border.
Then on Twitter, Sunday, the president blamed Democrats and Mexico for the situation. A very bad combination for our country, he wrote.
100,000 people will cross the border this month alone. That is a crisis.
Aides to President Trump say it would take something dramatic to stop him from shutting down the border this week.
It certainly isn't a bluff. You can take the president seriously.
The Department of Homeland Security says it's experiencing a system-wide meltdown as it struggles to deal with a surge of asylum seekers.
It's incredibly important that we work together.
More than $550 billion of goods are traded between Mexico and the U.S. each year. San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer says his residents need the border open.
We are the largest land port of entry in North America. That's why it's incredibly important that we have a safe and secure and a functioning border.
On Saturday, the Trump administration cut off aid to El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, where the majority of migrants crossing the southern border originate.
The president's cutting off aid to these countries will not solve that problem.
Democrats insist that aid was aimed at reducing illegal immigration, meaning cutting it will only increase the number of asylum seekers. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
President Trump is expected to travel to California on Friday and make a stop in the border town of Calexico. And a federal judge has ruled President Trump's executive order allowing offshore drilling in the Arctic Ocean is, quote, unlawful and invalid. Friday's ruling means a drilling ban for much of the Arctic Ocean off of Alaska will go back into effect. 10 environmental groups filed suit to block the president's executive order, while the American Petroleum Institute and the state of Alaska defended it. And you may not have to take your laptop out of your carry-on bag at the airport much longer, even if you don't have a TSA pre-check. The Transportation Security Administration announced last week it's buying 300 computer tomography systems. CT scanning can provide 3D images to current X-ray scanners that they aren't capable of. Officials say that means you can leave your electronics in your bag. The machines start arriving in some airports this summer. And Joe Biden hasn't yet declared his candidacy for the 2020 presidential election, but he's already dealing with the scrutiny of a campaign. Former Nevada Lieutenant Governor nominee Lucy Fluor is saying Biden made physical contact with her in a way that she found appropriate. Biden released a statement yesterday saying he never believed he acted inappropriately.
My point was never about his intentions, and they shouldn't be about his intentions. It should be about the women on the receiving end of that behavior.
Senators Bernie Sanders and Amy Klobuchar, two Democratic candidates now running for president, both say on Sunday they see no reason why to doubt Flores in saying that Biden. They added that it's up to him and the voters to make the judgment about it. In local news, there's a development in a Whitley County murder case. A criminal complaint says the same day a woman was shot to death, and the suspect, Daniel Nance, and another man, David Huff, held someone at their home against their will. Huff faces federal kidnapping charges. Investigators say on March 16th, Jerry Johnson, who was pregnant at the time, was brought to Baptist Health in Corbin by Nance, her boyfriend, with a gunshot wound. Johnson died the same day. Her baby Amelia was delivered but died days later. And a fight outside Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles this weekend left a father of four on life support with a fractured skull. Police are looking for the suspect, and the victim's wife wants justice.
I shouldn't have to be dealing with this. Whoever did this to him is out there having his life, and my husband's in here fighting for his.
Rafael Reyna was walking in the parking lot after Friday night's extra innings game. He was talking to his wife on the phone. She says she heard a man yelling at her husband, accusing him of touching someone, but didn't know what the man was talking about. Police say he was punched. The wife heard a loud thump, and people tending to him. He was hospitalized and put in a medically induced coma. LAPD officers believe the suspect is a man in his 20s who took off in a white SUV. And a group of middle school students wanted to come together with a project to help their community, but their idea and compassion surprised teachers. WYMT's Lauren McCourt caught up with middle schoolers to see exactly how their project came to life.
Jackson County Middle School students were asked to come up with a community service project for the month of March.
It's kind of random, so I was just let's build a homeless shelter.
These 7th and 8th graders did not let their age stop them from building the shelter.
Actually, we are going to do this.
Thanks to Reach Coordinator Ashley Judd and other members of the community, this once dream became a reality.
Never in a million years did I think that they would dream this big and that this would happen.
Building warming stations for people who may not have a place to stay. Shelters will be equipped with beds, food, and positive messages from the students.
I'm not sure that there's words to say how proud I am of these kids.
REACH is a program to help kids realize there is a need in their community.
Even though they were kids, that they could help meet those needs.
And no matter what age you are, you can make a difference and inspire others.
It's really cool for the high schoolers to be inspired by the younger ones.
This project will not only impact the lives of the people who use it.
I hope we do more things like this in the future, definitely. This has just been a huge blessing to do.
But the kids who built it. In Jackson County, Lauren McCourt, WYMT Mountain News.
Judd says one of the stations will be placed at the north end of the county, and when both stations are finished, a ribbon-cutting ceremony will be held. Now back to national news. A train carrying hazardous materials derailed in Utah this weekend. It happened around 9 on Saturday morning just outside of Salt Lake City. The Union Pacific train with 165 cars crashed, with 23 of them going off the track. Now officials would not release what chemicals were on board, but said they were dangerous and flammable. Cleanup is expected to take several days. And an EF0 tornado did a number on an RV storage center in Colorado. It happened Friday afternoon in Falcon, which is near Colorado Springs. The storage center's surveillance cameras recorded the power of those winds, which pushed many of the RVs around, shoving them together, flipping them over, or even shredding them. There are no injuries, thankfully, from the storm. Coming up, police continue to investigate a deadly shooting that killed a rapper and left 2 others injured.
If you're already missing those warmer temperatures like we all are on this cold morning, don't worry, they won't stay gone for long. I'll have the warming trend coming up in about 3 minutes.